vintage Schedule 40 gray PVC fittings. Let's start with this Crestline PVC elbow. Right away you notice something kind of weird. It has this odd gray color. In the 1950s to 1970s, fitting manufacturers made gray and beige Schedule 40. Nowadays, Schedule 40 is usually white. A lot of times I'll see people mistake this old gray Schedule 40 for Schedule 80. Back in the 1960s, some manufacturers did make Schedule 40 drain fittings. You can see this is a Cabot Piping Systems book from 1965, and it shows Schedule 80 industrial drain fittings. They had things like elbows, T's, Y's, and even this weird combo fitting. Now this elbow itself was designed to connect 2 1.5-inch pipes at a 45-degree angle. So if you have a pipe that comes up straight, you can glue this on and then come out at a 45-degree angle. Now these are the hubs of the pipe I glue into, and when this fitting was made, you didn't really have the standard glue and primer like we have now. Back then, the primer was very interesting. You would use acetone, and they put it on a rag and they'd brush it on the inside of the fitting and the outside of the pipe. And then the glue would come in a paint can type can, and you'd use a bristle brush to apply glue to the outside of the pipe and the inside of the fitting. Nowadays, you would take your fitting hub and you'd apply purple primer with a brush that's attached to the lid. And then you would take your PVC glue, that's the same exact brush setup, and then you just go around in the fitting like that, push the 2 parts together, and then a glue connection would be done. So the way we glue plastic pipe now is a lot less labor intensive. But the paintbrush method was a lot easier than having to pack oakum and then lead for heavy cast iron fittings. So there was still a big advantage with the PVC fittings they had back then. Now let's take a look at the marking on the fitting and see it says Crestline PVC and then NSF DWV. They have NSF DWV right there. And NSF stands for National Sanitation Foundation, and DWV stands for Drainage and Vent. Back when this fitting was made, they wouldn't put NSF in capital letters like they do now. Here's how they put NSF in the fittings nowadays. You can see there's the part number, and that's the head of a screw. When they're screwing the mold together, the screw head would show up in the plastic. It says ASTM, and then I'm not really sure what that is there. The other side is the exact same. This is the outside, and this is the inside. This is where the plastic would go in the mold. It would go in the mold in a ranch consistency, and then it would come out with a long piece of plastic that'd be cut or broken off. Now this fitting is actually in pretty good condition, but this hub was ovaled. I'm not really sure why. I actually put this in really hot water, stuck a pipe into it, which brought it back to its original shape. My guess is that it sat in a hot garage for many, many years, and then it finally softened and it kind of ruined the shape, but now it's back to normal and how it was supposed to look. The next fitting is this elbow made by Plastiline, and for some reason it looks a lot like the Crestline fitting. But Crestline and Plastiline were 2 different companies. You can see there's a Plastiline logo that they started using in 1965. It says PVC, NSF, DWV, NSF there also. That's the part number, that's the head of a screw, that's the STM, that unknown marking from the Crestline fitting, and UPC. They don't put UPC on too many fittings anymore. Other side is the exact same. Here's the inside, and here's the outside. This fitting is also in pretty good condition. All the fittings I'm reviewing in this video came from the same eBay lot. I'm not really sure what these 2 nubs are for. Now, Genova put nubs on their fittings, and those are used for these clean-out plugs. But these ones are a lot shorter but wider, so I doubt they had any big purpose. The next fitting is a lot different. It's a Plastiline clean-out tee, and this would be helpful to attach a clean-out plug to a PVC drain line. So you cut this into the PVC drain with primer and glue, and then you'd screw a 3-inch cleanout plug in here. They started to use Teflon tape in the 50s and 60s, but they still used a lot of pipe dope and even wicking. And right there, someone got some sort of lead onto the threads, and I'm not sure how that happened. My guess is that this is in a big box of fittings. Somebody is pouring a lead joint, and then they spilled lead in the fitting. There was a bigger glob of lead inside of here. I'm not really sure where that happened. Usually the lead is just hot enough to leave a mark on the fitting, but it won't completely melt it. And you can see it says Plasteel, PVC, UPC, ASTM, the screw head, NSF, DWV, and the part number. The other side is the exact same. There's the inside. It's actually a pretty nice fitting. A lot of fittings back then weren't as clean and smooth as they are nowadays. You can see here's a newer fitting, and it looks very good. There are not any imperfections in the fitting. The next fitting is a lot like the 3-inch cleanout tee, except it's 2-inch. You can see these ends are glue onto a pipe, and then this end would accept a cleanout plug. It says Plasteel, NSF, PVC, the screw head, and then the part number right there. The other side is the exact same. I'm not sure why it has marker where it would say PVC. There's marker there and marker there. So that was done on purpose for some reason. And there was a glob of lead that got spilled into here too. I chipped it off. You can see it did leave a little bit of a mark on the inside. Now let's look at some fittings that are not Schedule 40 drain fittings, but I thought were still somewhat interesting. Starting with this 1.25" PVC coupling, gray Schedule 40. So let's say you had a 10-foot run of pipe. You could glue this on, and then you could go on with another 10 feet of pipe. This is very good for repairs also. Now, I'm not sure what the brand is. I'd assume it's either Crestline or Plasteel, but it only says NSF, and they put NSF the newer way in capital letters. It actually looks like this is stamped in. It doesn't look like that was done with a mold. There's the inside, very sloppy. This is how a lot of older fittings looked, because plastic pipe was newer technology. It was only around for like 20 years, and the ABS is around for more like 30. The last fitting is not for plumbing. It's for central vacuum systems, and it's this 2-inch Y, but it's still from the 60s or 70s. You can see it says 2-inch vacuum. And this wouldn't accept 2-inch Schedule 40. It would actually accept a thinner pipe for central vacuum systems. This is actually so much smaller than standard 2-inch that you can actually fit inside of a 2-inch Schedule 40 hub. And see, there's the inside, and there's the outside. Very basic. I'm not sure who the manufacturer was, but it's still very interesting.